The QB status for the Dolphins in Week 6 up in the air because both Tua Tagovailoa and Teddy Bridgewater are dealing with concussions. You got T. Higgins day-to-day with the ankle problem. John Harbaugh says that Rashad Bateman could return this week. That's a nice situation, unless you're the Devin Duvernay, I'll get that name right eventually. Devin Duvernay fantasy manager, who's coming off a strong game last week against the Bengals. Isaiah McKenzie still in the concussion protocol. That's good news for Khalil Shakir. And the Bucs are taking a long-term approach with Julio Jones, meaning that they want to make sure he's 100% healthy, getting closer to the playoffs. You have a couple other notes here with Jahan Dotson. No timetable for his return with the hamstring problem. And the Seahawks did claim Tony Jones from the Saints, so trying to find an answer for their backfield as some depth behind Ken Walker with Rashad Penny out for the season. So let's talk about Damien Harris and the report according to the NFL Network. Going to miss multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. Ramondre Stevenson's already taken over in terms of playing time status, playing more snaps than Damien Harris. They've been basically equal in terms of fantasy production because Harris has found the end zone 3 of the last 4 games. The one he didn't was last week's game where he left against the Detroit Lions. How good is Ramondre Stevenson rest of the season? Or at least in the interim where Damien Harris is out?
And I hope that Damien Harris is okay, and I hope he comes back, but I also kind of hope he goes on IR for a while and that Ramondre Stevenson gets this huge opportunity. Guys, he was a stud last year when Damien Harris didn't play, and that includes games where they were blowing out teams and the Patriots just decided, let's put Damien Harris on the bench and see what Ramondre Stevenson could do, and he was a stud in Week 5. He is a must-start fantasy running back for however long Damien Harris is out. I don't think he's going to get 100% of the snaps. I think he's going to end up being their rushing downs back. Eventually, Ty Montgomery will come back. If not, someone else will be there to work in pass down situations. But you've got to use him. He's at worst a number 2 guy.
You mentioned somebody else. Pierre Strong would be the somebody else right now. He's 2% roster in CBSSports.com leagues. And it's somebody that they talked a lot about in the offseason but didn't really have a need to use him. Now they might have a need to use him. They've been using multiple backs forever.
Right.
Is Pierre Strong somebody you have a lot of interest in picking up off the waiver wire?
I mean, I talked yesterday about Joshua Kelly. I would prefer to add Kelly, but Strong would be behind Kelly and someone I'd add definitely in a 14-team league, possibly in a 12-team league, but it'd have to be one where I'm just stockpiling backups and hoping for an injury. I don't think Strong's going to have fantasy value as long as Stevenson's okay.
Again, it depends on how they use it. We just don't know. It's going to be just all Ramondre Stevenson, or are they going to use this combo package that they've been using with both these guys, and now Strong is the second guy. Dave mentioned Ty Montgomery. He's on IR, is eligible to return, but according to Bill Belichick on Monday, they're going to be a little bit cautious with him, so we might not see Ty Montgomery in Week 6. I think good point there in terms of Joshua Kelly. Pierre Strong, Mike Boone, these type of guys you could be looking to add for depth just in case an injury does occur, and they do have some fantasy relevance moving forward. Let's talk about the Dolphins quarterback situation because according to Mike McDaniel on Monday, Tua, quote, still not ready for football stuff yet. Teddy did pass all the concussion tests following the concussion he suffered on Sunday against the Jets, but he's still in the concussion protocol. So Skylar Thompson could be the starting quarterback for the Dolphins. Heath, when you're looking at the passing game for Miami, obviously nobody's looking at these quarterbacks right now because of the uncertainty outside of a 2-quarterback or superflex leagues. But what does the quarterback situation mean for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? And again, assuming Tyreek Hill is fine after having his foot stepped on and in a walking boot coming off that loss.
Assuming Tyreek Hill is fine, I think you're going to start him no matter who the quarterback is. We've seen Tyreek Hill with second and third string quarterbacks before, and we've seen him produce like a fantasy starter. Maybe he's not a top 10 option, but he's definitely someone you're starting. Jalen Waddle is a guy I would probably be trying to get away from if it's Skylar Thompson. If it's Teddy Bridgewater, I'm firing both these guys up, and I might even stream Teddy Bridgewater. But I do worry a little bit about Waddle if it's Thompson and Hill's there. If it's Thompson and Hill's out, then I'd probably start Waddle.
It's just a lot at play here, so we'll just keep an eye on what the injury report tells us. But I think at this point, anticipate Teddy Bridgewater, plan for Skylar Thompson, still start Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle, at least the number 2 receiver, maybe still a top 15 option if Teddy Bridgewater plays. I agree with you on that one, Heath. All right, Dave, Zach Taylor says that T. Higgins is day-to-day after the crazy situation that occurred on Sunday Night Football where he started, left the game, and then Zach Taylor comes out after the game and says he could have been used situationally. As Pete Prisco told us on the show yesterday, he has no idea what that means. Nobody knows really what that means because he was healthy enough to play him. So at this point, are you planning on not having T. Higgins there? And without Higgins, clearly Jamar Chase is a must-start option.
Yeah.
What does this mean for Tyler Boyd? What does it mean for Hunter Henry?
I like what it means.
Hayden Hurst.
It's Hayden Hurst.
Yes.
Hunter Henry hasn't done anything this year. We don't have to worry about Hunter Henry, but you do have to worry about Hayden Hurst because he wasn't just a guy they designed plays for last week. He was Joe Burrow's check down guy. He was throwing to him when the pressure was on him, and I think there will continue to be pressure on Joe Burrow because that offensive line still isn't all the way there. You know that the tight end position is thin. Here's somebody that you're going to be able to find off your waiver wire and plug right into your lineup if you're streaming the position. And I even like him better this week than Taysom Hill in full PPR leagues.
Makes a lot of sense given what Taysom Hill does not catching the ball. He's more of a running back at this point, but does play the tight end position. But yes, Hayden Hurst coming off 2 strong games back-to-back, finding the end zone. And if there is no T. Higgins, we could see a little bit more underneath throws for Joe Burrow in his return to the Louisiana area. The LSU star going back to play New Orleans in week number 6. Heath, Devin Duvernay had a strong game with 10 total touches in the game, or 10 total opportunities. Had 7 targets, 3 carries, 5 catches in the game against the Bengals. They were trying to manufacture touches for him. So John Harbaugh says that Rashad Bateman could return this week, but if he's out, well, first off, if he plays, do you like Bateman? If he's out, how much interest do you have in Devin Duvernay, knowing that he's going to get this opportunity?
If Bateman plays, these guys would both be number 3 wide receivers that I think will probably need a touchdown to be fantasy relevant, or at least start worthy. Right in that 30 to 36 range at wide receiver. If there's no Bateman, Duvernay is close to a top 24 wide receiver for me. I'd be very interested in both adding him and starting him. 12
PPR points against the Bengals. Very good matchup this week against the Giants, so we'll see how things go there for him. But a good opportunity without Rashad Bateman on the field, so just keep that in mind. Dave, Isaiah McKenzie still in the concussion protocol. We'll find out if he's able to play. And when I say still in the concussion protocol, as of Monday, still in the concussion protocol. So we're waiting to find out if he's going to clear and be able to play in the huge game in Week 6 between the Chiefs and the Bills. But if he's out, Khalil Shakir had a nice performance. 3 catches, 73 yards, scored a touchdown. Only 5 targets, though. But just break down the 2 guys. McKenzie in, out if he plays, and Shakir in, out if McKenzie's out.
Let me say that between these 2 wide receivers, there is one wide out that's going to be a must-start flex. I just don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be totally dependent on how healthy
So I guess
Isaiah
at this point, you'd like
is.
McKenzie not to play.
If McKenzie doesn't play, I love Shakir. I want as many pieces of this game between the Bills and the Chiefs on CBS this Sunday as I can possibly get. And so if McKenzie is cleared, he's going to be in my lineup as a flex. If he's not, man, do I want Shakir to be in my flex.
All right, so keep an eye on the scenario there, but Khalil Shakir rostered in you should be able to get him. He's available in about 90% of leagues on CBSSports.com. So big opportunity in front of him, and he may have some staying power. I mean, this is a guy they talked a lot about this offseason. No Jamison Crowder, so there is an opportunity for him to get additional playing time. So just keep that in mind when you're making your waiver moves. We'll talk about Shakir and show you where he stacks up in the waiver wire priority at wide receiver. Jahan Dotson saying that he's going to take some time, take some precaution with this hamstring injury, Heath. And so what we saw in the game against the Titans on Sunday for week number 5 with the Commanders, it was the Damien Brown show. Now, he's banged up heading into Thursday's game, but it's more of I think just a situation where he should be okay. But break down the receiving core if there is no Dotson. McLaurin, Samuel, and Brown taking on a Bears defense that's just not very good.
Yeah, in full PPR, I'm still going to lead towards Curtis Samuel just because he's getting the most targets. I think Curtis Samuel is a low-end number 2 wide receiver. So is Terry McLaurin right behind Samuel. Damien Brown was fantastic and made a couple remarkable plays, but it's not a very big role. It's kind of like what Dotson was doing earlier in the year. So it's really a touchdown-dependent flex, probably better in non-PPR than full.
And we'll see if Logan Thomas is able to return. He was out in that game last week. We also could see a situation where, Dave, you alluded to this on our podcast today, that the Commanders can establish their running game a little bit based on how bad the Bears have been defending the run. So we'll see what that means for the receiving core. But clearly at this point, McLaurin, Samuel, depending on how you like each one, should be the 2 starting options, and leave Damien Brown really on the waiver wire because there is a chance that Dotson does return soon. It might not be in week number 6. The Seahawks, we know, down Rashad Penny for the rest of the season. He is going to undergo surgery, I believe, today, according to NFL Network, for a broken fibula. Their backfield right now, the depth is a little bit hurting. So Ken Walker now becomes the lead guy. They still have Travis Homer. He's on IR. So DJ Dallas now the number 2 guy. But they did go make a move to get Tony Jones off the Saints practice squad. So we know everybody's going to be all in on Ken Walker. Is there another running back here similar to the Pierre Strong situation that you want to get your hands on just in case Walker goes down?
I think the one to get, and this is only if you've got IR spots to use, is Travis Homer, because I think he's going to be their passing downs running back once he's healthy. For now, it's DJ Dallas. Dallas can work any role they want. They just don't want to use him. He's not very explosive. And the same thing for Tony Jones. I think both those guys are just decent depth for the Seahawks. This is going to be the Ken Walker show for the remainder of the season.
All right, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully Walker stays healthy, and we saw the big game 69-yard touchdown run against the Saints after Penny went down. So big opportunity for Ken Walker. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about him on the waiver wire show here today because he's at 68% rostered on CBSSports.com leagues. But if he is available, make sure you go get him.